Welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. Here we are, September 27th, 2017. All right, right to the markets here. We have about 7 minutes left in the trading day. And the question that kind of looms in my head here, did we just see a blow off top today? Or is this going to be a rally forever? And let me explain what I mean by a bit of a blow off top. So throughout the course of today's session, we come out this morning on the opening bell rather weak, kind of slip down into the 24.94 handle. Okay, and that's 24.94 in terms of price over here. If you take a look on the screen, right down here was the ultimate bottom. Again, volume absolutely explodes at that point. And I want to display a little bit about volume because people, this is intense trade. It's more intense trade than we've seen in quite some time. That was about 15,000 contracts inside of a minute. From there, we absolutely explode to the upside. Now, I'm not a big market technician, but I'm very familiar with what a blow off top happens to be. And again, we hit monumental large volume, okay, in just the last few minutes over here. And again, we're coming towards the close. Markets start to sell off a bit. So here we are. We're right kind of butting up into the end of the quarter. Now the S&P is, I'm using this in my example here of like, was this just a blow off top again, or are we just going to ultimately rally forever? But some of the sell side activity that we've seen here in just, again, the last few minutes coming into the close is rather steep. It's rather fast. Now, the reason I talk about, is this a blow off top? Did we just see like just a monumental kind of occurrence because the market was at an all-time high? The reason, again, I'm questioning this idea of a blow off top, go look at something like the advanced decline line. Now, again, I've been trading a lot of years. I've seen some fairly wild things go on. But when you start looking at the advanced decline line, you're going to be thinking twice over here. The AD line, it's barely positive on the trading day. Like, okay, so what's driving the markets? I'll tell you exactly what's driving the markets over here. Specifically, is that a lot to do with the financials. The financials are exploding to the upside because bonds are getting rocked right now, okay? You're also getting just a monumental rally inside of Google, and Amazon, Facebook, even Apple's bouncing to the upside. Even Microsoft is up a full %. If you look at what I often term the monsters of technology, they're up 80 points right now, okay? But the Nasdaq itself is only up ultimately 55. There is a huge divergence going on in just the last, 10 to 15 minutes here of this close. Again, about 4 minutes now left inside of the trading session. So again, my reasoning for asking if this is a blow off top, let me show you some other aspects that really stand out. So the advanced decline line, the fact that we just sold off, and again, sold off on some fairly monumental volume over here, and we're still slipping a bit into the close. Now, of course, we're looking at the Nasdaq futures. Here's another oddity of today's trading session, and that happens to be none other than the volatility. If you don't look at volatility, okay, forget about the VIX. The VIX is as dead can be over here. But the volatility futures themselves, we're looking at the volatility futures relatively flat, with the S&Ps up 10 and the Nasdaq futures up 55, okay? I haven't even come to the fact that the Russell here is up almost 2 full % in today's trading session. Come back around to that here in just a while. But again, we're seeing volatility. It's not, in fact, backing off with the market in ultimately rally mode. Down to the bottom of the screen over here, nor is the VVIX. The VVIX is the volatility of the volatility index, okay? You would have expectations of volatility to drop and drop substantially with ultimately this type of a rally in play. All right, so spinning back around, again, we've been talking day in and day out about how there's been this consistent rotation of capital, okay? That ultimately one day the financials would pop to the upside, and the financials, again, can't take away this monumental move. This is multiple year highs that we're now seeing inside of the financials, which just cracked today into the mid 25 range. Again, I don't want to diminish the move inside of financials, But the financials have been gaining as stocks like Apple ultimately have been effectively losing. Okay, so you've seen this rotation of capital that's ultimately been, again, from these financials into ultimately what? Tech. Okay, and now we've actually seen the inverse of that. Then we've seen tech flow back into the financials. And again, this is something that's been going on now for not just a couple of days. This is months we're talking, where again, everybody was running towards the Nasdaq. Now everybody's running towards financials. Well, guess what? Now we have the Russell involved as well. And the Russell, this is not like an overnight move, but here, okay, is where I really want to put, and lay down the road. That looks like a blow off top. That looks about as harsh a move as you could possibly see in a major index player. And I'll let you know, I have a, albeit very, very minimal short position inside of the IWM. And I often joke about this, I'm not wrong. I'm just a little bit early in here. But with this particular move, again, it really stands out as the possibility of we may have just seen ultimately the blow off top. Again, you're seeing markets rally substantially. We also have just heard from Janet Yellen yesterday that's extraordinarily hawkish on interest rates. And when I say hawkish, that's ultimately of raising rates. Well, guess what? Okay, bonds are down massively today. Okay, rates are exploding higher. If you've not looked at rates, you can go over and you can take a look again at TNX and what are interest rates looking like today. Okay, this is a huge jump. And again, if you don't look necessarily at things like interest rates on a day-to-day basis, don't worry about it. But this is a huge jump up in interest rates in just the last couple of weeks. But you would think a hawkish tone, she's going to raise rates. Okay, that doesn't back markets off. It doesn't back off like volatility. The advanced decline line is going to end up today close to 50-50. The Russell explodes to the upside. Again, this feels like a last gasp for the upside. Okay, last but definitely not least, I've been talking a lot about the EEM. The EEM, okay, is coming off hard and fast right now. Predominantly, you can blame the move on the EEM specifically to what's going on in the dollar. It's inverse. Nevertheless, take a look at the emerging markets over here, as they could be a little bit of a tell of what's going on inside of the broader market. Again, a tremendous amount, there's the closing bell, a tremendous amount to think about this evening. Nevertheless, again, I'll leave you with that question. Do we just see a blow off top, or is this thing going to ultimately rally forever? Nevertheless, headed towards the end of the quarter this Friday. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.